The cell door slammed shut, the clang echoing like a gunshot in my skull. I pressed my back against the cold concrete wall, the damp air of the Oregon coastal prison seeping into my bones. My name is Elias Kane, and I swore I'd make Caleb Voss pay for putting me here until he walked in, his shadow swallowing the light. And everything changed. I'd known Caleb since we were kids, back when our family's rivalries were just whispers in Portland's underbelly. His father ran the city's largest shipping empire. Mine scraped by with a failing fishery. By 16, we were enemies by blood, our hatred fueled by years of sabotage and betrayal. Caleb, with his sharp jawline and storm-blue eyes, was always the golden boy, untouchable, ruthless. When my father's business collapsed, I blamed his family. When I got caught smuggling to save it, I blamed him. Now, at 24, I was rotting in this cell because Caleb had turned me in, his testimony sealing my fate. Revenge was all I had left. The heavy door creaked open, and there he was, 6 feet of arrogance in a tailored coat, his presence filling the room like a tidal wave. "Elias," he said, voice low, almost intimate. I lunged, fists clenched, but the chains around my wrists yanked me back. He didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped closer, close enough for me to smell the cedar and salt on him. "You look good in chains," he murmured, a smirk curling his lips. My pulse roared. I wanted to hate him, to spit in his face. But something in his gaze, something raw and unguarded, made my chest tighten. "Why are you here?" I growled, straining against the restraints. "To gloat." Caleb's smirk faded, replaced by something I couldn't read. He crouched, leveling his eyes with mine. "I'm here to get you out," he said. My scoff echoed off the walls. "You put me here, Voss." His hand shot out, gripping my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. "And I can undo it," he said, his thumb brushing my jaw, sending a shiver down my spine. "But you'll owe me." I jerked my head away, heart pounding. I'd rather rot. But his words lingered, dangerous and tempting. Caleb stood, his silhouette framed by the dim light. "You'll change your mind," he said, turning to leave. "You always do when it comes to me." The door slammed shut, and I was alone again, my mind a battlefield of rage and something else, something I refused to name. Days bled into nights. The ocean's roar beyond the prison walls my only companion. I replayed Caleb's visit, his touch, his words. Why would he offer freedom? What game was he playing? I'd spent years hating him, plotting ways to ruin him. Yet, in that moment, his eyes had held something more than cruelty, a flicker of regret, maybe even want. It was impossible. Caleb Voss didn't feel. He destroyed. The guards came for me on the 5th day. No explanation. Just shackles and a blindfold. I was marched through damp corridors, the air growing colder, until I was shoved into a room that smelled of leather and whiskey. The blindfold fell, and there was Caleb, leaning against a desk, his sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms corded with muscle. "Welcome to my world," he said, gesturing to the room, a private office, not a cell. My chains were gone, but I felt more trapped than ever. "What is this?" I demanded, voice hoarse. Caleb crossed the room in 3 strides, stopping inches from me. "A deal," he said. "Work for me, Elias." Help me take down my father's empire. And you're free. I stared, stunned. His father's empire was his legacy. Why would he want to destroy it? You're insane, I said. But he stepped closer, his breath warm against my cheek. Maybe, he whispered. Or maybe I'm tired of being his puppet. And maybe I want you by my side. My heart stuttered. This was Caleb Voss, the man who'd ruined me, offering me a lifeline laced with poison. I should have laughed, should have spit in his face. But his eyes, those damn blue eyes, held me captive. Why me? I asked, barely a whisper. He leaned in, his lips brushing my ear. Because you're the only one who ever saw through me, he said. And I've never stopped thinking about you. The room spun. I pushed him away, my hand shaking. You're lying, I said, but my voice cracked. Caleb didn't move, just watched me, his gaze stripping me bare. Am I? He asked, stepping closer again, pinning me against the wall with a hand on my chest. Hate me all you want, Elias, but you feel this too. His fingers tightened, and I couldn't breathe, not because of his grip, but because of the truth in his words. I'd spent years hating him, but beneath it all, there was something else, something that terrified me. I'll do it, I said finally, my voice raw. But not for you. For me. Caleb's smile was slow. Dangerous. That's a start, he said, releasing me. But soon, you'll see things my way. He handed me a file, thick with documents, evidence of his father's corruption, deals that spanned decades. We bring him down together, Caleb said. And when it's over, you're free. Or, he paused, his eyes locking onto mine. You stay with me. I wanted to punch him, to scream that I'd never be his. But as he walked away, leaving me with the file and a racing heart, I knew I was already caught in his web. Revenge was my goal. But Caleb Voss was rewriting the rules, and I wasn't sure I could resist him. The file Caleb gave me was a Pandora's box of secrets, ledgers, contracts, proof of his father's illegal dealings that stretched from Portland's docks to international waters. I spent nights in a safe house he'd arranged, poring over documents under the flicker of a single bulb. The ocean's roar a constant reminder of my captivity. But it wasn't the chains or the guards that held me. No, it was Caleb. His presence lingering like a ghost, even when he wasn't there. He'd visit unannounced, always at odd hours. His coat dusted with rain, his eyes searching mine for something I wasn't ready to give. Find anything useful? He'd ask, leaning over my shoulder, his breath warm against my neck. I'd shove him away, muttering about shipments or bribes. But my skin burned where his gaze lingered. He was my enemy, my jailer. Yet every touch, every word, chipped away at the walls I'd built. I hated him for it. I hated myself more. One night, as thunder rattled the windows, Caleb dropped a bombshell. My father knows you're out, he said, tossing a grainy photo onto the tabling, walking into the safe house. My blood ran cold. He'll come for you, Caleb said, his voice steady but his eyes dark with something like fear. Unless we move first. I laughed, bitter. You expect me to trust you. You're his son. Caleb's jaw tightened. I'm nothing like him, he snapped, grabbing my wrist. I've spent my life trying to escape him. You, of all people, should understand that. His grip was firm, but his thumb brushed my pulse. Soft. Almost tender. I yanked my hand free. Heart pounding. Don't. I warned. But my voice trembled. Caleb stepped closer. His body a wall of heat. Why not? He asked. Voice low. Because you're afraid of what you feel. I shoved him. Hard. But he caught my hands, pinning them above my head against the wall. Stop fighting it. Elias. He said, his lips inches from mine. You're mine, whether you admit it or not. My breath hitched, rage and desire colliding. I'll never be yours. I spat, but my body betrayed me, leaning into him. Caleb's eyes softened, a rare vulnerability breaking through. I don't want to own you, he said. I want you to choose me. He released me, stepping back, leaving me breathless and confused. Read the file, he said, voice rough. We're running out of time. The next weeks were a blur of planning covert meetings, coded messages. Allies Caleb had somehow rallied against his father. I met Riley, a hacker with a quick smile and a grudge against the Voss Empire. And Mara, a former smuggler who'd lost everything to Caleb's father. They trusted Caleb, which baffled me. He's not who you think, Riley said one night, catching my scowl. He's risked everything for this. I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was mounting. Caleb wasn't just playing me. He was betraying his blood for something bigger. Still, doubt not at me. Every time Caleb's hand brushed mine, every time his voice softened when he said my name, I wondered if it was a trap. But then came the night we infiltrated the docks. A risky move to steal a shipment log that could expose his father's biggest deal. We moved like shadows, Caleb's hand steady on my back as we slipped past guards. When a flashlight beam caught us, he pulled me into a crate's shadow, his body pressed against mine, his heart pounding against my chest. Stay quiet, he whispered, his lips grazing my ear. I nodded, my breath shallow, not from fear, but from the heat of him. We got the log, but not without a cost. A guard's bullet grazed Caleb's arm, and back at the safe house, I patched him up, my hands shaking as I cleaned the wound. You're an idiot, I muttered, but my voice cracked. Caleb grinned, wincing as I tied the bandage. Worth it to see you worried, he said. I glared, but his hand caught mine, holding it against his chest. I'm not your enemy, Elias, he said softly. Not anymore. For the first time, I didn't pull away. The plan was set: use the log to expose his father at a gala where Portland's elite would gather. But the night before, Caleb found me on the safe house roof, staring at the stars. You don't have to do this, he said, sitting beside me. You could walk away. I laughed. Sharp. And go where? Back to prison. He shook his head. Anywhere. With me. His hand found mine, and I froze, the warmth of his touch unraveling me. I've wanted you since we were kids, he admitted, voice raw. Even when I hated you. I turned to him, my heart a war zone. You destroyed my life, I said, but the words lacked venom. Caleb's eyes searched mine. Then let me fix it, he said, leaning in. His kiss was slow, tentative, like he was afraid I'd break. And God help me, I kissed him back, my hands fisting in his shirt, years of anger melting into something I couldn't name. When we pulled apart, breathless, he smiled. "You'll call me husband soon enough," he said, half teasing, half serious. I shoved him, laughing despite myself. "In your dreams, Voss." But as we sat there, the ocean roaring below, I knew something had shifted. Revenge was still my goal, but Caleb was no longer just my enemy. He was my partner, my weakness, and maybe just maybe my future. The gala was a glittering cage, Portland's skyline sparkling through the ballroom's floor-to-ceiling windows. I stood in a borrowed suit, the weight of the stolen log burning in my pocket, while Caleb moved through the crowd like he owned it because he almost did. His father, Victor Voss, held court at the center, his smile as sharp as a blade. I watched Caleb charm the elite, his laughter masking the storm I knew was coming. My heart pounded, not just from the plan, but from the memory of his kiss, his words on the roof. I was in too deep, and there was no going back. The plan was simple: slip the log to a journalist, expose Victor's crimes, and watch his empire crumble. But nothing about Caleb was simple. He caught my eye across the room, a silent signal, and I moved, weaving through the crowd to the reporter's table. My hands shook as I passed her the drive, her nod quick and discreet. "This'll make waves," she whispered. I forced a smile, but my eyes were on Caleb, who was now inches from his father, his face a mask of calm. Then it went wrong. Victor's security grabbed Riley, dragging her from the shadows. Caleb's eyes met mine, panic flashing before he schooled his expression. "Elias, go," he mouthed, but I couldn't leave him. Not now. I pushed through the crowd, heart racing, as Victor's voice boomed, accusing Riley of theft. Caleb stepped in, his voice steady. "She's with me," he said, but Victor's eyes narrowed, suspicion cutting through the air. "Is she?" he asked, then turned to me, recognition dawning. "And you?" The Kane boy. The room seemed to shrink, every eye on us. Victor's smile was venomous. "You think you can betray me, Caleb?" he said, voice low. "You and this criminal." The word stung, but Caleb's hand found mine, his grip firm. "He's more than you'll ever understand," Caleb said, his voice shaking with defiance. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Victor laughed. "Cold. You're a fool, son. And you'll pay for it." Security closed in, but Caleb pulled me toward the exit, his arm a shield. "Run," he whispered, but I grabbed his hand, refusing to let go. We burst onto the street, rain soaking us as we sprinted toward the docks, Victor's men on our heels. My lungs burned, but Caleb's hand in mine kept me moving. We ducked into an alley, panting, his body pressed against mine in the dark. "You should have left," he said, voice rough. I couldn't, I admitted, my chest tight. His eyes softened, and he kissed me, hard and desperate, like we might not get another chance. We made it to the safe house, but the news hit hours later. The journalist had published the story. Victor's empire was unraveling, his deals exposed, his allies abandoning him. But he wasn't done. A message arrived, scrawled in sharp ink, "You'll both pay." Caleb's face paled, but he pulled me close. "I won't let him touch you," he said, voice fierce. I believed him. Not because he was Caleb Voss, but because he was mine. The final showdown came at the cliffs. The same ones I'd imagined in my darkest dreams, where the ocean roared and the wind screamed. Victor stood waiting, his men flanking him, their guns glinting in the moonlight. "You've ruined everything," he spat at Caleb, ignoring me. Caleb stepped forward, shielding me. "No, you did," he said. "Your greed. Your lies this ends tonight." Victor laughed, raising his gun. But Caleb was faster, disarming him with a move I didn't see coming. The men lunged, but Mara and Riley appeared, their own allies in tow, turning the tide. In the chaos, Caleb and I fought back to back. Our movements synced like we'd been doing this forever. When it was over, Victor was in cuffs, his empire ashes. Caleb turned to me, blood on his cheek, his eyes bright with relief. "It's done," he said, pulling me into his arms. I buried my face in his neck, the weight of years lifting. "We're free," I whispered. Months later, we stood on those same cliffs, the ocean calmer now, the sky painted in soft pinks. Caleb took my hand, slipping a ring onto my finger, a simple band, nothing like his father's wealth. "Told you you'd call me husband," he said, grinning. I rolled my eyes, but my heart swelled. "You're still an arrogant bastard," I said, kissing him. He laughed, the sound brighter than the sunrise. Our love was born in a prison of hate, forged in betrayal and vengeance. But standing there, with Caleb's hand in mine, I knew we'd rewritten our story. We weren't just survivors who were each other's salvation, proof that even enemies could find a home in one another. And as the waves crashed below, I swore I'd never let him go.